Hey everybody, Matty here with Altcoin Buzz. Happy hump day. Hope you're having a great Wednesday. If you were like me, then you probably stayed up into the wee hours of the morning and watched the results trickle in here from the US presidential election, and things are still ongoing. This was, I think, everybody's expectation that we wouldn't really have a clear, defined winner at this point. At the time of recording, it's kind of mid-AM on the 4th of November here for me. By the time you're watching, I very much doubt that we're going to have a winner here that's been clearly defined. Right now, we still have a few states up in the air, notably Nevada, Georgia. North Carolina has now kind of swung back into uncertain territory, as well as Wisconsin, Michigan, and especially Pennsylvania. I think there's going to be a lot of contention in the next, unfortunately, few hours and the next few days. We're going to kind of take a look at how we can capitalize in this space, kind of suggest what it is people should buy post-election during these potential crisis times. There's a lot of turbulence, I think, that may be on its way, and depending on either one way or another, whether it's a President Trump or a President Biden, I think we do face, unfortunately, some turbulent times and a weakening USD. There is a potential constitutional crisis as well, because I doubt very much that either side would just let the other one walk all over them with a victory without putting up a fight. So we'll take a look at how you guys can react, how you can make your money work, again, in this post-election landscape right now. We'll take a look at Bitcoin, stocks, crypto, and the tokenization of all kinds of things, particularly stocks, land, art, and even things like sports cars and individuals. Bitcoin settling in. It's looking healthy here post-election right now at $13,876. That's up nearly a percentage point in these last 24 hours. And we actually did see Bitcoin over the last 24 hours go up just above 14,000. It happened during the evening hours of the 3rd of November. I'm talking EST time here. So not really breaking one way or the other, I would say, just yet. It's almost as if Bitcoin itself is an analogy for kind of what's happening right now with the United States. We're all on the edge of our seats. We're kind of waiting for validation. Which way to go? Is it going to be President Biden? Is it going to be President Trump? We're all kind of waiting, and it seems like Bitcoin is too, before it kind of makes a decision and goes one way or the other. But check out yesterday's video if you haven't already. I gave my thoughts about the two candidates, and I suggested that either way, fortunately, Bitcoin has a successful path. Its contingencies are kind of mapped out to the positive both ways. Again, whether we have a President Biden or a President Trump, I think Bitcoin is the ultimate winner in the end. Let's talk tokenization in today's video. One of the major promises of blockchain is the fact that you can tokenize all kinds of different assets that you would never even think about, whether we're talking tokenization or otherwise, because they wouldn't really normally come up in the conversation, but tokenization allows it to happen. With the advent of tokenization, there's all kinds of advantages that'll come with it, including liquidity, security. You can trace more easily. Trading is also more effective. Here we're talking about FTX exchange. They're releasing Bitcoin pairs for, get this, Amazon, Apple, and Tesla. FTX releases Bitcoin pairs for Amazon, Apple, and Tesla. This was announced on Thursday, so a few days ago. Users of the crypto derivatives exchange are now able to register to trade over 12 equity and cryptocurrency pairs via the fractional stocks provided by the platform in what FTX is calling a, quote, first of its kind offering. These products demonstrate a powerful future in which assets are digitized and traders have unlimited creative potential to express their beliefs about the markets. That's courtesy of CEO Sam Bankman-Fried. We are covering it here with this article by Rachel. You can now buy tokenized Tesla stocks on FTX. They're going to be enabling Bitcoin trading pairs, again, for some very prominent companies such as Tesla, Amazon, Apple, and others. And for anybody that may not be familiar with the financial jargon, tokenization just means that you can buy a fraction of a stock. Let's take a look at Tesla, which is currently trading at $426, up a little bit today, up very significantly, as you can see, this year in 2020. I mean, my goodness, about a year ago at this time, it was trading at $70. Now $426. Tesla has, been one of those few, I would have to give it to them, few tech stocks that have actually outperformed Bitcoin and the crypto market. So a very banner year for Tesla indeed. Let's say you don't want to buy a full stock. Let's say you don't have $400 in change. Maybe you want to put in $100. You can do that with tokenization. You can buy just under a quarter of Tesla stock. If you want to buy 1% of Tesla stock, that's also possible. 95%, whatever figure you want. And this kind of brings that cryptocurrency, that blockchain mentality, in the same way that Bitcoin can be denominated down into a fraction, a 100 millionth of a Bitcoin, a Satoshi. Tokenization allows us to kind of proceed in a similar manner with traditional stocks and traditional financial products. And it's looking like the FTX exchange is taking it seriously. To facilitate the smooth launch of the feature, FTX have entered into 2 strategic partnerships with CM Equity and Digital Assets AG. The platforms are based in Germany and Switzerland, respectively. And again, the appeal here is that that with tokenization, you can buy all kinds of things, not only some of these tech stocks, we're going to be looking at other examples in a moment, but really the idea, as per the CEO Sam Bankman-Fried, is to be able to express your financial confidence and have unlimited creative potential to express those beliefs about the markets, one market or another, one asset or another. Again, it goes well beyond just the tech stocks on the NASDAQ and whatnot. We'll launch into a few more examples here. The price of gold has bounced back somewhat since we last brought up the issue a few days ago, now above $1,900 an ounce, talking about USD, of course, but it's still lagging a little bit, and it's one of those safe haven assets, one of those security blanket assets that for a lot of people has been underwhelming and kind of disappointing, unfortunately. But if you were to choose to launch into a gold trade or secure other precious metal assets, the interesting thing about tokenization is you can also do that. Now, you've always been able to buy less than an ounce of gold, of course, but the tokenization model still applies here. And we have some interesting services that are emerging in the market here, responding to consumer demand. I suppose that's the beauty of a free market, is that you have solutions to problems that arise. So the emergence of, for example, cache.gold, CGT, appears to be solving a problem that's out there. The fully redeemable gold-backed token allows retail investors to invest in physical gold at the lowest premium possible of about either +2 or -2% when buying or selling, respectively. And the problem here that we're solving is the fact that even with gold-pegged stablecoins like Pax Gold, well, there's not really a very close correlation, unfortunately, with the spot gold price. It's not correlated as well as it should be. Sometimes the correlation, in fact, is only about 26%, which is on the lower side, statistically speaking. We're here now on Hacker Noon, and they have a very in-depth explanation of tokenization as it applies to metals in particular. This is really one of the next steps, one of the new frontiers here that we're tackling in the DeFi space, the decentralized finance space. But this so-called tokenization of the world is something that is very appealing. So as they describe here, tokenization at the most basic level is the process of putting a real-world asset or commodity on the blockchain, as in making it into a cryptocurrency, which means that in general, anything that's presented with a cryptographic token is considered to be a tokenized asset. And it just allows for much more simplified distribution of ownership. So largely it's the illiquid assets, or those that are most difficult to trade, that best fit the use case here, that best fit the tokenization model. The example that they give here is a house. If you consider a house a home, it's a structure. Is it tradable? Can it be moved around quickly, such as a stock or even a cryptocurrency? Not exactly. A house is something that's very difficult. So as Hacker Noon continues here, properties such as real estate properties have previously been non-divisible, but now they can be put on the blockchain and divided into as many cryptocurrency tokens as the issuer wants. This means that a previously non-divisible asset has become divisible, and a previously untradable asset has become tradable. We're going to get to sports cars and vehicles in a moment, but think about the idea of investing in a fleet of self-driving vehicles. Let's say there's a new pilot program that Tesla or NASA or somebody puts out one day, and it's all about driverless taxis or Ubers, however you think about it, that drive people from point A to point B. Now, imagine you invested in a particular car in a given city. Let's say you invest in the New York component of the company, and you can own one car out of the New York fleet. Well, if it were tokenized, the kind of example, the flip side of that is you could own 0.1% of 1,000 different cars for the same investment. So it's a distributed ownership model with that particular example that's made possible via tokenization. And in the case of precious metals, again, they are currently divisible for the most part, but I think adding the cryptocurrency component, adding that traceability and accountability means that you can eliminate some of the ridiculous premiums that are falsely charged based on how certain things are done and traded kind of in the dark corners of certain gray markets. This really improves the credibility of the space. And so we'll link to this website below. These are not sponsoring us in any way, guys, but cache.gold is a very interesting website with a new model that is proposed here that enables the tokenization model, that brings that into the precious metal space. So we've talked about this, I think, enough for the time being, but we'll leave this in the description below if you'd like to check them out. They're doing some pretty interesting work, and I think this is one of the financial areas that tokenization really stands to improve in the near future. So as I mentioned, the advantages of tokenization include increased liquidity, increased security, tracing, pricing, trackability, accountability, and of course, trading is that much easier. This can be applied to all kinds of different assets, again, beyond precious metals, beyond the standard tech stocks or any kind of stocks for that matter, indices. But you can start dividing things in a way that you never have before, including land. And that's what FieldCoin is doing here. It's how tokenization and the tokenizing rather of land properties will change banking and finance. So a bit of a longer article here, but FieldCoin is doing some interesting work in terms of tokenizing land and properties, which, think about it, ultimately that would have been very difficult to do. Maybe if you're a family, you can divide a plot of land and whatnot, and you can have equal shares in it. But if you're talking about anything more elaborate and sophisticated than that, when you're dividing by tens or hundreds or thousands, it becomes difficult, impossible, I would argue, but tokenization changes that model. So check this out. We'll link to it below. Also, NFTs, I think, are something that are worth discussing here. And actually, NBC News has covered this with respect to tokenization. So how blockchain technology reached Christie's and changed the art world along the way. Quote, "I think that not since the Renaissance have we seen such a shift in power back into the hands of the artist." That's courtesy of Ben Gentili. So we are indeed talking about the tokenization of the art world. So earlier in the month, and this is from October, so earlier in October, 18 interested buyers got into a bidding war for a large gray disc engraved and painted with 322,048 digits of code. It's a little more than 4 feet across, features a 24-karat gold leaf, and comes with something the legendary Christie's auction house had never sold before, a piece of digital code that tracks the artwork's location. So here's what it is. It's called Block 21. It was created by a London-based artist that we just mentioned, Ben Gentili, and is part of a 40-piece series, which is called Portraits of a Mind, and it's meant to represent the history of actually Bitcoin and its mysterious founder. This piece actually just sold for $130,000, which, as you can imagine, caused a little bit of a stir, not only in the art world, but in the blockchain world as well. So as you can see, the NFT changes from day to night in accordance to the time zone and location of its physical counterpart, and it's currently set to New York time zone. We can link to this below, guys, but you can play around with this and see exactly how it works. But here is the important take-home point. In the traditional art world, some pieces can sell for a relatively modest sum of money when they're initially sold by the artist, maybe a couple of $100s, but ultimately they get sold later on down the road for millions of dollars, whether it's a few years later, maybe even decades later. So the artist definitely gets ripped off. However, switching gears now, in the crypto art world that is slowly developing, digital marketplaces offer royalties to artists for secondary sales. That's the game changer. So when an artwork is resold, creators get a commission of that revenue. And here on masterthecrypto.com, tokenization of everything, how tokens will create a more liquid world. Again, liquidity is one of the major advantages that tokenization brings. And I think particularly with regard to that problem that we just described, this really will stand to impact the art world significantly and for the better. Tokenization extends well beyond some of the products and assets we've been exploring. It extends into all kinds of NFTs. And really, I mean, the limitations there, the potential is just about endless. So that goes on almost infinitely. You can also talk about the tokenization of cars, of professional sports fleets. We'll link to this in the description below. There's also the tokenization of all kinds of different things, including labor, including human time. Again, it's really endless. So on dailyfintech.com, tokenizing everything, even people. Are you ready? So believe it or not, in recent months, we've seen a growing trend around personal tokens that are also known as social currencies. And with smart contracts and platforms like Roll, people can actually tokenize themselves and offer investors a piece of their future upside. So this happened in April to an individual named Alex Mazmej, and he conducted a personal token sale of 1 million Alex tokens, raising a total of $20,000. He wrote about it in a Medium post announcing the sale, and he wrote that Alex tokens holders will receive pro-rated distributions of 15% of his income over the next 3 years, paid quarterly. They will also receive some other benefits, such as an hour of his time, an introduction to someone within his network, a shout out on social media, and the ability to vote on certain personal or professional decisions in Alex's life. The Alex token is an ERC20 token on the Ethereum blockchain, and it's tradable on Uniswap. A couple of other examples here are listed, guys. Now, I don't think that, trees grow to the sky. I think there are limits to any good idea. The Alex token is kind of pushing the credibility. It's straining the credibility of this model. In my opinion, I don't think this is going to work if nearly 8 billion people on the planet decide to all issue tokens. I mean, it kind of dilutes the effect to a certain extent. However, if we scale it back a little bit, if we rewind a little bit, the tokenization of assets, especially illiquid assets, particularly like that house that was used as an example earlier, I think that's where things really get interesting. Infrastructure, real estate, land, and at the more casual level, stocks that you wouldn't want to outright purchase, in full denominations. But this is the future, guys. Tokenization, again, just to summarize, you get added liquidity, better security, improved tracing and accountability, and trading is much, much easier. There is a lot to unpack here when it comes to this topic. This was really just an admittedly rather superficial overview of some of the benefits and advantages. We will go into this in more detail, guys, in coming videos in the future. We'll link to this for now, for the time being, to everything in the description below. And by the way, just in passing, we haven't really discussed politics too much in today's video, but on altcoinbuzz.io, if you would like to continue to track the ongoing US election, you can now do so on Ethereum and EOS blockchains. It looks like it's still going to take at least a few days, if not longer, to determine a clear winner. So check it out. The United States is at a major crossroads in its history, writes Rachel, and blockchain tech is playing a very important role, hopefully to help mend things and make things a little bit more clear. And that about wraps it up for today, everybody. Do be sure you're following us on all the regular social media channels and keep checking back into the website. It is altcoinbuzz.io for all the latest. Go ahead, like, subscribe, share, and hit the bell to receive notifications, but only if you enjoyed today's video. Best of luck, everybody. If you choose to invest on this hump day, stay safe out there. I implore you. Things, might get a little bit dicey depending on where you live in the next few days. So stay safe. And as always, we do hope to see you again soon in our next video. Take care.